Hello YouTube, this is Keith Kevin Ken. How you doing? How you doing? Time again for the knife of the day. This is where I focus on one knife out of my collection. One knife per day. And we figure it'll be about a year. There's over 115 knives on the playlist on this channel. Go check them out. A lot of them are discontinued knives. We've started with the Spyderco, my Spyderco collection. We'll continue through that, and then we'll get into the Chris Reeves, the Browse blades, the case knives, the Hinders, the Striders, and the custom knives as well. We're continuing with Spyderco, and today's knife of the day is the Spyderco Autonomy. It's an automatic knife from Spyderco. So let me talk about automatic knives and Spyderco. On the playlist for the knives of the day, I've had two other automatic knives. They're on there, so you can go check them out. It's the Citadel and the Embassy. You know, here I was trying to build this big Spyderco collection of knives, and I could not find an Embassy or a Citadel. I couldn't find any of the automatic knives from Spyderco, and it was driving me insane. And then I found this article that said, and then it explained it to me. When Spyderco did the Embassy and the Citadel and distributed in the U.S., the U.S. government used them as an example and fined them, some say up to $1 million for selling automatic knives in the U.S. Now, it sounds weird because everyone is selling automatics. You go to Blade HQ, you go anywhere. I have like 15 Microtech out the fronts. I have a number of automatic knives in the collection. They were just as simple as going to the website and buying them. But they were fined. And so if you notice, when Spyderco releases automatics, they really put a lot of restrictions on them. They quote the law. They do a lot of things because they've been burnt seriously. That's why they have this funky balisong. Same with balisongs, because the government consider those automatics that I would love to have that are in their catalogs, and I can't find them because they didn't even try to distribute them in the U.S. So when Spyderco worked with the Coast Guard to develop the Spyderco Autonomy, and that came out as a rescue knife, I just hopped on it because I was so desperate to get something from Spyderco that's an automatic. They released this in the U.S. saying that only Coast Guards could get it, and of course Blade HQ and a lot of other online folks sold them, so I bought it. There is another edition. It's in orange because it's easier to see underwater. Again, developed for the Coast Guard. So let's talk about this knife. It is a wonderful rescue knife. And I'm downplaying the rescue part of it because in an everyday carry, it's also a wonderful fishing knife, okay? Because of the serrated edge and all of that. Let's talk about the steel and the blade first. The blade is H1 steel. You know, Spyderco's use of H1 steel, it is rust proof. You cannot have it rust. Every part of this knife is rust proof. Every single part of it. Because it's for the Coast Guard rescue teams. It needs to go underwater. It needs to be used. Sheep's foot blade, blunt, you know, no point, usual point that you come out, and that's great for rescue. You see the serrated edge, the Spyderco edge right there. Of course, the cut line to do whatever you need to do for rescue. And then at the top, you see that it's a belt cutter or any other just straight edge at the top. Like I said, this is a blacked out version, so it is a coated blade. You can see the H1 steel and the logo and the hole on the blade. Of course, the hole is non-functioning. It is just part of the brand. Talking about the handle, it is a thick handle, but a thick, not super thick, but man, does it fit the hand well. Again, they're setting it up for the Coast Guard if you have gloves or whatever. I have just fat fingers, and let me tell you, it fits perfectly in the hand. It really does. They have this super big button, automatic button, and it goes so that you can do it with gloves on or anything. It's easy to reach. And look at it. It's an interesting construction. When you push it, whoops, ooh, that was stupid, Kevin. I didn't cut myself. But when you do push it, let me put my fingers back here. When you push it, I'm trying to look right there. You can see it go through towards the other end. But just a real easy way of getting it to fire out. And it fires out as a rescue knife. When I have several Spyderco rescue knives, and we'll go through them, you'll see them as they pop up on the knife of the day. To me, rescue knives are the ultimate EDC knife, everyday carry. You know, it's something, for me, this knife is a glove compartment knife. You know, it can cut a seatbelt. It can do a lot of things for you. It will not rust. The pivot is an interesting pivot. They have a coil in there, a rust-proof coil, that helps in the operation of getting that blade out. And they have a range so that you can replace the coil without taking apart the knife. I don't know all the specifics, guys. I'm sorry about that, but it for the Coast Guard or anyone in rescue, you can just replace the coil and not be down with taking apart the knife. It's a nice, hefty, really nice knife. Like I said, sheep's foot, H1 rust-proof steel, 100% rust-proof steel. 3.7-inch blade. 3.5 of it is edge, so pretty much of it is edge. Oh man, I love those little, sometimes I don't like the finger kind of things, but you know, Spyderco and ergonomics, that is their high point, and this really fits nice. And the heft of it actually isn't that it's heavy. It feels, I can imagine if you're in the Coast Guard or something, you know, you want to know that your knife is there. And that's what it does. It just fits really nice in the hand, and it's there. Super light. You know, you don't know if it's, you know what I mean? Maybe you don't. And obviously I'm having trouble explaining it, but it's a really nice, hefty knife. These are available. Unlike the Citadel and Embassies. By the way, Spyderco did a recall of those knives. Now, a lot of people, you can find those on the secondary and the third markets. A lot of people knew, woo, these are going to be expensive. Overall, it's 8.6 inches. The entire knife, when it's open like this, hollow grind. The clip is the wire clip, and it's right or left hand tip up. And of course, because the button, it's easy to get with your right or your left hand. I love the big button. I mean, this is one of the biggest buttons ever. The original one that they released, some of them don't have a lock. The Coast Guard don't want a lock on some of them, but Spyderco has a lot of them with the lock. Of course, you can make sure that you don't, when it's in your pocket, accidentally go off on you. That, my friends, is what you call a professional rescue knife, developed with the help of the U.S. Coast Guard and Man, it's nice. I hopped on it because it was the first automatic I could actually buy new from Spyderco. And later, much later, a year or so later, I was able to get a Citadel and then an Embassy. That's it against the Endura and the Paramilitary too. So it is a pretty hefty, long knife. Real nice too. There are other FRN scale H1 rescue knives. We'll go through those as well as we continue to go through my collection one knife at a time, one day at a time. If you're enjoying this series, don't forget to like it, thumb it up. You can share the link with folks, let them see it as well. Subscribe, that just helps me out. And don't forget to turn on your notifications. Man, I'm waiting for Spyderco knives. It's been a big delay for the Spyderco knives. And then, of course, they'll come out in a rush and I won't be able to afford all of them as soon as they come out. But anyway, when I do get new knives, whether it's Spyderco or any other knife, that night I do a mail call and do a video, and you guys won't miss out on it if you hit that bell after you subscribe. Thanks a lot. You guys have a perfect day. Keep those pockets full. Goodbye.